Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And are you happy with Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is the main core question that I have for you guys, as this has been something we've been briefly discussing about over on the community tab over for YouTube. Now, if you guys don't know what the community tab is, it's basically kind of like a Twitter. I kind of asked you guys, what do you guys feel via a little poll over here? And via the votes over here, 70% of you guys felt like we need a change in this Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. Now, obviously, the ban list, it's right around the corner. Heck, I was actually waiting today for the ban list video to come out, and it didn't come out, so I'm like, you know what, this is a really great topic, because a lot of people want to talk about, obviously, the current format, and obviously, ban list can definitely fix formats. Now, with lots of different games, this doesn't just apply to Yu-Gi-Oh!, but like certain games, let's say like, Fortnite or Call of Duty, or sometimes in games, they release like a new patch, or let's say a new season. There's one mechanic that you don't like. Maybe your favorite weapon or your favorite deck, your favorite card got nerfed, you don't want to play. That's totally cool. Or maybe sometimes things are too OP and you want to wait for them to get banned or nerfed so you can play your other deck or use your favorite weapon, or whatever the case may be, right? Now this applies to Yu-Gi-Oh! As well, definitely. I've skipped out on formats myself. I was really not that much of a fan of when 6 Samurais were like absolutely insane with a triple gateway. This is way back in the day though. Obviously, Samurais don't matter this day and age, right? But there are a lot of different decks. Like heck, look at what Numeron can open up with. Looking at, Shadals aren't going to be a super negate heavy deck unless they're like playing like spam out Winda after a Macabre, then things can get a little bit more difficult to play, right? At the end of the day, any Numeron deck's goal is to make it so one player cannot play. And I'm just gonna like kind of swap back and forth in between going and seeing some gameplay via Dueling Book and just talking about the game. These are all going to be like 1,000 plus rated at least, so it'll be slightly meta here, as this really kind of applies to the meta of the game, right? The current game state is defined by the meta for majority of players. Although there is a completely different audience, which is something I do want to go ahead and get into, because I've been recently creating a lot of TikToks. Those of you guys that follow me over on TikTok know that I create content that would be more for a casual audience. I'm talking about Blue Eyes and stuff that like more Yu-Gi-Oh! Players know about, like Magic Cylinder. People love that kind of content. And like I recently got partnered on TikTok, which is awesome. And if you guys aren't following me there, I do post content that is completely different. And sometimes not all the TikToks that I post on TikTok actually make it to like YouTube, because some of them, like, they just don't make sense to post it over here because it's just more catered towards a casual audience. And I definitely feel like, as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creator, majority of you guys, my viewers, unless you followed me recently from TikTok, hello, how you doing? A lot of people are more competitive in Yu-Gi-Oh!, right? A lot of times when you go to TikTok or other platforms, right, a lot of casual audiences, like, it's crazy. Some of them still think Blackluster Soldier is banned. They think that Solemn Judgment is banned. And you know what I'm thinking about? I'm like, this is kind of a crazy topic, because I was actually browsing on Reddit, and I'll pull up this Reddit post that will be interesting for you guys to check out as well. But I'm thinking like, there is such a huge disconnect from the like competitive scene versus the casual scene, because looking at the casual scene, they're still playing the official Yu-Gi-Oh! Games. And if any of you guys have played the official Yu-Gi-Oh! Games on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, Link Evolution, these are completely different games. They have different ban lists, they have certain like different rule sets, but it's such a different game, right? Like when you're playing those, you don't run into like Numeron and Utopic Zexal and lock you out of playing the game. But there's a lot of players that still feel like certain cards are OP. Like a lot of people, for whatever reason, they're like, Jinzo is like the best card. Again, I'm talking about a casual audience. But obviously you guys are going to be more in the competitive scene. But I see the same thing repeated time after time, whether it's on my channel or other people's channel, VFD, going into like this Reddit thread that kind of made me want to make this video in the first place, but it also was because I was waiting on the ban list to have a ban list discussion, but we'll have to save that to whenever the ban list comes out, which is a huge deal with enjoying the game, right? You got to know, okay, now is the time to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Should I invest in a certain thing? Should I get rid of my things? Obviously, because of like remote duels, it's kind of hard to move cards for some people because there's no like tournaments and stuff to go to, right? Or even if you play on tournaments, which I'm not a fan of remote duels, the cheating is out of control. If any of you guys didn't know, there's so many people that cheat in remote duels. It is absolutely insane what people are doing. Heck, we're gonna make a video on that very soon. But the whole topic of this is really, are people happy with Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now? like I said before, banlist can definitely fix things up. Like a lot of people over on this thread, there is positivity. There's definitely people that enjoy it. I mean, again, it depends on, you know, what community you're asking. Depending on, I would say my audience is going to be a little bit more competitive. And what I mean by competitive is not necessarily like, oh, they're YCS winners, you know, they top regionals, first place every single time. But I'm saying is they play against these decks that might not be that, you know, fun to play against for one of the players on like the receiving end. And I'm not talking about the people that are playing like on some really old game for like the Xbox 360 or the Switch that has different formats. They're still playing Magic Cylinder, you know, Marshmallow, like low-rated duelist kind of stuff, right? But they still feel that the game is not fun for some people. Again, it varies, but again, it's VFD and Zexon. I see the same thing repeated time after time. Opponent activates VFD, bro, you got me, I set 5 pass. That's a bad feeling. And I've mentioned this several different times in the interactions that exist in this game, right? So many times it's like, if it's a combo deck, they can actually make a card that stops you from being able to Nibiru, which is like the counterplay to the combo. I'm negating everything. Oh, go for Union Carrier, equip this card, you're special summoning nothing but our barrier statue. Like, there's just so many things that just lock one player out of playing. And you gotta play triple imperm, which is not a cheap card, or if you wanna play triple evenly, like, these cards are expensive. But certain formats and enjoying a game can be dependent on a lot of different things. Like, hey, Droplet's a pretty good card, but if you don't draw it, like people that, you know, complain about like certain mechanics of like VFD or anything that just like has too much negation, yeah, just run Droplet. Oh, one, Droplet's expensive. Two, if you don't have it, like, it doesn't matter sometimes when they still happen to have cards, it will just negate Droplet in the first place. But I still think that the way that the game is going, even if we get a new ban list, right? Let's say they hit Zexal, they hit VFD, there are still a lot of different decks that will open up to be what I would consider too strong for a casual player to even, they don't even need to win, to even be able to play the game is really where I feel like this game has lost its interaction. Because a lot of different decks can throw up, you know, Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess, and at that point, majority of, let's say, casual decks, it's like summon this card, activate effect, no, okay, negate, okay, I tried this card, negate, nope, try this card, negate, no, and then they never got to play the game. And even if we go back to where a lot of people really enjoyed certain formats like Teledad, technically Oppression was still at that level of like negate, negate, negate. How common was it for a Teledad deck to open up super, super powerful and then throw up Oppression? Obviously the card, you know, wasn't, you know, it didn't live forever, it's banned now, but like at the same time, it was a little bit more rare. I would say definitely more rare when Yu-Gi-Oh was like back in the day when Blackwings were like, you know, super popular, when Oppression still existed, you know, and it wasn't like every day that you would see like someone open up like 9 times out of 10 enough negates to make it so one player cannot play the game. And I think that's kind of like the whole picture of this video, going back to a different like thread over here on Reddit. Because like I said, I've been browsing Reddit to see how some of the casual audience feels, because I have a completely different audience on TikTok. And it's just, it opened up my eyes to like, there's a whole nother Yu-Gi-Oh community that like isn't reached because they play in a completely different format from the official Yu-Gi-Oh games, right? But like, look at this complaint over here. Oh, this duel is like watching paint dry. I'm sorry that I shot over your true king of all calamities and forced you to actually play the game. This is a big deal. There's so many, there's more complaints over here with like, I hate this, every deck runs Dragoon. Like, how many times do you see people host games that say, no this, no this? It's a lot more common, but like, back in the day, I still laugh at the no synchronous, no XYZ, but like at the same time, nowadays, there's like, subterranean Ruma, okay, it's just Neuron in general, but like no VFD, no, they don't want to have these non-interaction decks, and there's a lot of people that will complain about, you know, decks that have no interaction. But it's really because a lot of people aren't playing like triple droplet, triplet imperm to go stop these combos. And sometimes even if you have the card to stop it, they just respond with another card, then you're still not playing the game. And I thought to myself, like, what would actually fix the game to make it more enjoyable for me personally? Because a lot of you guys know, a lot of times when there's a certain format, I just don't like to participate. I just wait for that format to end. And this format obviously is a little bit longer due to everything that's going on. But I really want to say that there's still a lacking of interaction for the competitive player to the really casual player that wants to play Crystal Beast, that wants to try out the new War Rocks, right? Like, it seems weird because, like, you know, there is this post over here, like saying, you know, I quit the game around 7 years, I just came back, I just want to know what people think about this game. the thing is that like when you just come back into the game, you have to figure out, you know, what's the meta, depending on if you're a casual or competitive player. Some people, they only want to play the best deck, right? But like going into the game, buying some new packs, and you're like, okay, what is this Warrock archetype? I like how they look. I pulled maybe a secret rare or something. And I think this is a huge disconnect when someone pulls a like really rare card. Again, from a casual standpoint, like they're like, I got a secret rare, and it's worth $1, and they're so confused because they think Blue Eyes is still worth like a lot of money, which is really strange because for some Yu-Gi-Oh players, they like it when the expensive cards are really powerful. Some people don't like that. But like looking at what this guy opened up with, obviously he's going for the Numeron. It's a, you know, relatively good effect over here, right? But at the same time, I think that we need a way for the casual players to be at least have a chance to even attempt to play the game without the other player, you know, just walking all over them. And at least that's how they feel, I would say. But even at a competitive standpoint, you have to admit that that definitely does happen quite a bit. I mean, when you look at some of the decks that would win, you know, previous times, Infernoid, I mean, like, how do you win with that deck? It was like grass, throw everything in the graveyard, reasoning, throw everything in the graveyard, just activate everything. And I think that it also comes down to there's just too many insane plays that you can do in Yu-Gi-Oh! I kind of liked that though, compared to like Pokemon, Magic, or if you look at a lot of different card games, right? Gosh, I feel like this video is going to be way longer than necessary. But if you look at a lot of card games, they have like a pace, right? Like they have like a beginning game, a middle game, and an end game. And with Yu-Gi-Oh, it seems like there's no beginning or middle. The game is like a turn one, slam everything as hard as possible, and then if you get Nibiru, well, whatever, dude. He got lucky. He got sacked. And I feel like that's a strange like way to make a game in general, is that like it just goes from 0 to 100. I kind of like that, but I feel like it happens too frequently to where the other player just feels disappointed. And there's so many times where it's like, again, I know a lot of people always say, just play Droplet, just play this card to counter, you know, that card. You could argue that with everything, but if the other player did not open up with that card, or the other person had an out to their out, it's just like a game over turn one. And I think that I'm not sure what I would do exactly to fix Yu-Gi-Oh, other than like, you know, anything that makes it so one player cannot interact, right? Like if there's a player that's playing a deck that really needs spell cards, the other guy opens up Imperial Order, one guy simply does not get to Yu-Gi-Oh, right? I guess he's playing Invoked Shadal, the Dogmatica. But at the same time, like, is this person gonna have a good time? The person, you know, in the red, is this person gonna like think, wow, this was a GG, man? Like, he literally has no interaction with this entire duel. He's more likely gonna lose here. I mean, like, who played Mirror Force in 2021 over here? It's just, there's so many cards that are just like irrelevant in the game that are so classic to Yu-Gi-Oh! And I wanted to also make a separate video, but like, I really feel like trap cards in this game are just like irrelevant. Like Imperma is obviously a little bit different, and there is like an archetype, for example, like the Elixir, but like this is because every single card is like a plus. Like every single card lets you get another card, so it's not the same traditional way of like, oh, I attacked into him. Oh, it was my fault for attacking into him. He had you know, a Mirror Force, he had a Sakuretsu. These are things that like you don't really consider anymore. You just slam out the monster and just negates everything, and then you just be like, all right, I just set up 7 negates, he loses, right? And I just feel like there has to be some type of middle ground for being able to have like powerful monsters come out early versus too many powerful monsters combo like crazy, and as long as I don't get Nibiru'd, I'm negating every single play that you do. But I don't know how you guys feel about this. I think it's a really difficult thing to actually fix. Like, obviously, VFD, Zexal, those cards could go away completely, and I think a lot of players would be happy with that. But I think that it's more than just that. Like, we would have to hit, like, Bow of the Goddess. We'd have to hit the thing that makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks good, right? If you look at, like, a lot of comments, sometimes I upload casual decks, and, like, people are like, oh, it doesn't even have 5 negates turn 1? That deck sucks, trash deck. And you're right, but at the same time, not every deck needs to do that. But how do you fix the actual core game mechanic of being able to do too many things like in one turn? Like, do you limit the amount of plays that you can do? Another thing that's frustrating, and a lot of casual audience feels this way, at least from what I've seen. It's too many plays in one turn, as in my opponent gets to activate like 30, 40, 50 cards. Like, it really is like that. Turn 1, and then you just sit there like, do I have a hand trap? No hand trap. All right, you continue going off, and it's just like, are you kidding me? It just is too crazy. Where again, the structure of almost every single card game is like you have a setup for like you can only do so many plays because you have a certain amount of mana, which I know some people don't like the mana system, but like, does Yu-Gi-Oh need a mana system? Is there too many things that are being able to be played in one turn? I don't know. I do want to fix this game, but I'm curious to know, what would you guys do to fix the game? Like I said, for me, anything that stops player interaction that's like completely like, for the rest of the turn, you cannot do like literally anything. Like, at least with Gravity Bind, like back in the day with stall decks, like Gravity Bind, you could at least just, well, nowadays it's like, who cares about Gravity Bind? I just make like, you know, Link monsters, I just make Exceed monsters, who cares about levels? Like, there's a way to get around it, but to get around like the, I would say the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh, there's just too many, what I would like to just call Omni negates, which is just like, nah, for the rest of the turn, you ain't doing nothing, bro. It's like, you can't even attack with the monster with VFD, and like, those decks will consistently make it. And on top of that, like, you know, with Drytrons being so powerful, they're negating every single thing that you're doing too. I think it's just the amount of negations that exist when it's the other player's turn. Because when it's their turn, they go off, and then when it's your turn, you should be able to go off. And then if you do something like, let's say, attack, or you summon too many, like back in the day, Torrential Tribute was such an amazing card. Heck, I still think Torrential's okay, but like, I think Yu-Gi-Oh is in a better format when cards like Bottomless, Mirror Forge, Torrential are like good cards, because it makes the player think, you know, about like, do I summon this many monsters? This day and age, yeah, summon everything, get as many cards as you possibly can, negate everything, who cares? That's how I feel. Like, it feels like the whole game is in a state where it's as reckless as possible. Back in the day with Black Wings and other formats, you would have to think about like, how many cards does my opponent have in their hand? Nowadays, it doesn't matter. They can have one card and then you just lose the game. There's so many, one card, FTK, OTK, and like, you know, some of these are very difficult to do, but some of them, they're just like one card combos. Like, you know, a lot of dinosaur variant decks, like, it's just like one or two cards and they're popping off. They're able to go ahead and set up to where like they can flip everything face down just for like one or two cards. And it's crazy to see how far Yu-Gi-Oh has gotten. But like, I also want to know, what is the limit of this game in terms of like what you're going to be able to do? But yeah, so at the end of the day, that's kind of like where I'm at with this game in terms of like, am I happy with the game's current format? Right now, I've been seeing the same decks over and over again. Like, a lot of times it's still Drytron, Virtual World are like basically the top tier decks. I would say most people would agree with that. But any variants of like Dogma, Shadal's, Invoked, Numeron, like a lot of these decks definitely do see a lot more play. And I miss seeing like the creative Yu-Gi-Oh decks that I feel like you just don't see anymore, of just weird stuff. The last time I think we covered something was that like Invincible Crooked Cook. I like that Yu-Gi-Oh has so many cards and so many possibilities. But at the end of the day, what is actually meta is just a few decks, a few archetypes. And even with this newer releases of some things, they have no chance at all. Talking about those War Rocks, talking about the Doremi cards, like, they need to be at least playable, right? At least able to be played, but then they just become so broken and so overpowered that everything else, I don't know. I feel like the power creep in this game is definitely going to be insane, but I really don't know where I would go to fix it other than anything that negates like everything for the rest of the turn. It's a little bit rough, I think, again, for like a newer player to enjoy the game. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below, as maybe we'll have like a part 2 to this video, as I think it's an interesting point of discussion. But what, maybe the ban list will fix everything. Maybe. But the ban list did not come out today, so that's what we're talking about today. Anyways, you guys can let me know your thoughts. But thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. And if you are new here and you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh discussions, as I think this one's a very interesting topic, because like I said, I've really been opened up to like a completely different audience since like TikTok. Like, again, some of them are just still think that Magic Cylinder is OP, man. But anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, and I'm out. Peace.